Welcome to BYOBB, where we live out kingdom reality. I'm Pastor Mrs. B.J. Arnett. I am here in replacement, standing by for my husband. And he is out doing what God has called him to do, and I am called to be here speaking what God has given me. Today, we live out kingdom reality, and we do that every day. Now, kingdom is a realm where a sovereign ruler has ascended to the throne and has dominion. Reality is someone that exists independently of all other things, and out of him all things derive. I hear that every single week. Kingdom and reality isn't just a slogan. It's a lifestyle. It's a life lived. And what we're talking about today is a life lived. Kingdom reality is about taking your place step by step in a position of leadership. A kingdom is not ruled nor reigned by a small, diminutive attitude. Kingdom, by its definition, is broad, big, strong. So if we are living out the words kingdom reality, then we are living out the strength of the reality of God himself. And that takes an understanding of leadership. Now, I know we've all taken a leadership class or two, whether it was in high school or maybe college, or we did the seminar or the webinar or the podcast or the this or the that. But the world has a definition of leadership. But God's definition of leadership really can be best defined by looking at God himself. He is one who has created all things. Out of him, all things derive. So leadership can't be separated from God himself. Leadership has to be encompassed within God himself. So if you consider yourself a leader, but you don't believe in the God that created leadership, who is the sum total of leadership, then you're not a leader. So it's kind of like one of those things that you really have to step back and think about, you know, kind of like the chicken and the egg. Which came first? Without one, you can't have the other. How does that really work? Well, without the God who created all things, who has dominion over all things, who is the sum total of all truth, you can't have true leadership. And taking a look at where God has us, I began to ask myself the question based upon the teaching that I have been receiving over the past few weeks and months and years by Apostle Arnett. I had to ask myself, where do we go from here? Now, what is interesting to me is that God always has things orchestrated before you ever walk into it. So when I wrote down, why do we go? Where do we go from here? I had absolutely no idea that this would be the very morning that he would demonstrate go to me. I had no idea because I was thinking small. I wasn't thinking like a leader. Leadership takes authority. Leadership steps in the place that is ordained by God. Leadership doesn't pull back, doesn't move in fear. Leadership says, I'm taking it, you know, the old saying, take one for the gipper. I'm going to use that. Leadership takes it. Leadership stands without failing. Leadership for me, and I think for many people, really has to begin with reflection. Taking a self-assessment. I go back to the title of this moment. Why do we go? My goodness, why do we go? When a person is leaving the earth and they're passing, I don't know if you've ever had a family member that you were around and they were about to pass. Or you have someone special in your life and they're just leaving your presence for a minute. The very last words that they say is just like, huh? What did you say? It's like really important, right? It's important to you and it's important to them. Those last words that they say have to be important. To the person who's saying it, it's, are you getting me? To the person who is receiving it, it's, I got it. So it's kind of like playing tennis, and you throw up the ball, and you, what is that called, a lobby or something? And you hit it, and it gets to the other person. And the other person is able to hit it back. The volley, thank you. When we get to that place of communication, and it's that moment that we know we're not going to see that person just for a minute, it becomes extremely important that we understand that we've got to take the opportunity to get it. Don't take the opportunity to say, oh, they're just going to say goodbye again. See, there's goodbye and goodbye. See, that very small sound, goodbye, is different from goodbye. Goodbye, I'll see you later. Goodbye. You won't see me, but I'll be there. And I began to think about Jesus' last words. And I thought to myself, Jesus' last words keep coming back to my remembrance. Every so often, I'll go back to Matthew 28. There were 11 disciples left for Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. They saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. Jesus came and told his disciples, there were only 11 at the time, we all know why. I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations. I got to stop right there. Why do we go? The answer is right there. I can't even finish the sentence. The answer is right there. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations. Now, he gives us a breath there. And then it continues and says, baptizing them in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And then he says that part that we love to hear. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. The part that we love the most is, be sure of this. I am with you always, even to the end of the age. The other part, the previous statements spoken by God, I know that it's spoken by God because it's in red. The reason that this last sentence is so important to us is because the other stuff is hard to handle. The other stuff scare you. The other stuff makes you go, woo! I have a responsibility. I was good with Jesus himself saying, I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. But when he got to 19, he said, therefore, go and make disciples of all nations. He wasn't talking about himself. He was talking to us. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Why do we go? We go to make disciples of all nations, not just where you live, not just the United States, not just in your neighborhood, not just in your roundabout way. All nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Why do we go? That is exactly why we go. So what are you looking for? What are you trying to figure out? It's not hard. I'm going to use a line from a woman who I admire, Joyce Meyer. Can't you read, baby? You can read it in Matthew 28. Just go right there, Matthew 28, 18, and a touch of 19. And we'll get back to the rest in just a moment. I love you. I thank God for you. I believe God for you. And where you cannot believe, I am believing for you. See yourself through God's eyes. He has something great for you. God bless.